Man, today in Buffalo feels like that familiar mix of frustration and hope that only Bills fans really get. It's that strange balance between knowing your team's good enough to compete with anybody and still wondering why they didn't make that one big move to push them over the top. You can almost hear it in Brandon Beane's voice when he talks about the trade deadline. That mix of disappointment and justification. He wanted to make a deal. He tried to make a deal, but at the end of the day, it takes two sides to make something happen, and apparently, the phones just didn't ring the way everyone hoped. It's not like Beane wasn't trying. He said it himself. He was on those calls all night, chasing possibilities, trying to upgrade the roster. But when the dust settled, there just weren't many wide receivers moved around the league. Sure, fans hear all the rumors, all those lists of potential names that sound so exciting. Then deadline day hits, and the actual list of players traded is short and kind of underwhelming. That's when reality kicks in, and the cap, the contracts, and all the behind-the-scenes details suddenly matter again. And you could feel the frustration, not only from the fans, but from Beane himself. He admitted it. He went home angry. Angry because he wanted to do something. Angry because the effort didn't lead to results. That's not what fans usually hear from a general manager. He didn't sugarcoat it. He basically said, "Yeah, I get it. I wanted the same thing you did." And that honesty, even if it doesn't fix the situation, at least shows that the fire is still there. Fans wanted someone like Rashid Shaheed, and for good reason. Seattle went and gave up a fair amount of draft capital to get him, and now that offense looks like it's starting to click. But giving up a first-round pick for a guy like that, that's not smart business. As tempting as it is to chase that instant fix, Beane knows that overpaying just to make a move rarely works out. And honestly, if we're being real, there weren't many true difference makers available. The Bills already have those mid-tier receivers, solid, but not spectacular. And while everyone wants the next big weapon, the truth is those guys don't just appear out of nowhere halfway through the season. Josh Allen, as always, handled it like a leader. He said what you'd expect from a quarterback, that he believes in his guys, that the team has a championship-caliber roster, that there's still plenty of untapped potential in the playbook. It's what he should say. He's the face of the franchise. He can't throw his teammates under the bus or sound like he's losing faith. But even through the polished answers, you can sense it. He hears the noise. He knows what people are saying. The national media has been all over it. The fans are restless. And even he took that extra pause when asked about it. It's not that anyone doubts Josh's confidence, though. He's always been the guy who finds ways to make things work. But at some point, this conversation circles back to the same question it always does. Is the current group of wide receivers enough when it really matters, in those tight playoff moments when the game comes down to 2 or 3 plays? That's where the frustration really lives. Because in the regular season, this team can hang with anyone. But in January, when the margins are razor thin, you start to feel every missed opportunity. Keon Coleman's name has come up a lot lately. He's young, talented, but still learning the NFL game. The coaches have talked about how he's adjusting, understanding that being a wide receiver isn't just about catching passes. It's about blocking, spacing, running routes that open up opportunities for others. The league doesn't wait for anyone, though. He's only in his second year, but time moves fast in football. If the Bills want him to grow into that reliable piece, he's got to keep pushing. And right now, it feels like they've pulled him back a little, maybe simplified things to help him build confidence. That's not necessarily a bad thing. Less pressure might mean more focused development. The offense itself seems to be shifting. They're running the ball more, leaning on James Cook, finding ways to control the game. You can see it in the numbers. More carries, fewer pass attempts. It's not the Josh Allen air show we've seen in past years, but it's effective. Still, when you zoom out, you can't ignore that lingering thought. This team spent a second-round pick on a wide receiver who's not playing a major role right now. That's a tough pill to swallow when you think about what could have been if they'd gone another direction. And that's where the bigger question starts to form. What happens in the offseason? Because unless something dramatic changes, it feels like a near certainty that the Bills will upgrade that wide receiver room. Fans have been saying it for years. We need another big weapon. Every year, it's the same hope, the same talk. And then the draft comes, and they walk away with one guy instead of 2. This time, though, it feels different. The frustration has built up. Bean was reportedly even reaching out to divisional rivals like the Jets about their stars, guys like Garrett Wilson. You know the Jets weren't going to send him to Buffalo, but the fact that the Bills even asked tells you everything. They were serious. That's the kind of aggressiveness fans want to see, even if it doesn't always pay off. Because it's one thing to say you're trying, but another to go out there and make those calls. Still, Bean's in a tricky spot. You can't just throw away a first-round pick for a short-term rental. You got to think long-term, and with the cap being what it is, every move has ripple effect for the next few years. Fans might not care about that in the heat of the moment, but that's the reality Bean has to live in. Then there's the issue of health. James Cook dealing with a sore ankle, A.J. Epineza in concussion protocol, and a few others popping up on the injury report. It's a reminder that this team's depth is going to be tested down the stretch. Josh Allen sounded calm about it, confident that if Cook can't go, guys like Ty Johnson and Ray Davis can step in. That's the kind of leadership you want, but you know behind closed doors, they're hoping Cook can suit up. He's been the spark lately, the guy who's kept the offense balanced. And with Miami on deck, the Bills can't afford to take anyone lightly, no matter how messy the Dolphins situation looks from the outside. Sure, Miami's had their share of chaos, trades, injuries, a front office shakeup, but teams like that can be dangerous. Players fighting for their jobs have a different kind of energy. They're unpredictable, and sometimes that's enough to make a game tighter than it should be. Still, this Buffalo team is built to handle that. They've been through adversity before. You could tell the locker room still believes. Josh talked about toughness, about how the defense's nasty attitude needs to show up on offense, too. It starts with the line, with that physical mindset that sets the tone for everything else. When this offense plays angry, when they lean on that identity, they look different. They look like contenders. Whether Keon Coleman becomes part of that or not is still up in the air, but right now, the focus is on winning with what they've got. The frustrating part, though, is that sense of déjà vu. Every year it feels like we're here again. Talented team, playoff hopes, but just one piece away. And maybe that's why Bean's comments hit differently this time. He's aware of the expectations. He knows the fan base is tired of waiting for that next leap. Maybe this offseason really is when things change. Maybe this time, the Bills finally go out and land that true number one target to pair with Josh Allen. But for now, it's about grinding through, proving they can still dominate without the splashy move. Because the truth is, this team doesn't need saving. It just needs sharpening. The pieces are there. The chemistry is there. What they need is that execution, that edge that turns good teams into great ones. Bean knows it, Josh knows it, and every fan in Buffalo feels it. The window is still open, and as long as number 17 is under center, there's always a reason to believe. The interesting thing about all this talk around the Bills is that it really shows how high the standards have become. A few years ago, nobody would have cared this much about not making a trade at the deadline. But now, every decision, every non-move, every quiet press conference turns into a debate about whether this team is doing enough to chase a championship. That's what happens when you build something that's consistently good, but not yet great. The fans see the potential. They've seen this team stand toe-to-toe with Kansas City. They've seen Josh Allen play out of his mind, and they know what it looks like when everything clicks. But they've also seen the heartbreaks, those razor-thin margins in January that separate the contenders from the champions. You can feel that tension even inside the building. The players know it. The coaches definitely know it. It's not panic. It's more like that quiet awareness that comes from being right on the edge of something. You've climbed almost all the way up the mountain, but there's still that last part that nobody can seem to get over. And that's why every roster move, every injury report, every decision on game day gets magnified. What's fascinating about Bean's comments this week is how self-aware he seemed. When he said that line about it not being fantasy football, it was funny but also revealing. He's trying to remind everyone that real life is more complicated than trade machine logic. Contracts matter, locker room chemistry matters, timing matters. Still, for a fan base that's been waiting decades for a Lombardi trophy, that explanation only goes so far. Because deep down, people don't want to hear about the salary cap. They want to see results. They want to see confetti falling in February. The truth is, Beane's track record is solid. He's made bold moves before: Diggs, Von Miller, big signings, calculated risks. But maybe that's why expectations are sky high. Fans are used to seeing him act aggressively, to seeing him find ways to make the team better. When nothing happens at the deadline, it feels off. And even if it makes perfect sense financially or strategically, emotionally, it's a hard pill to swallow. Meanwhile, inside the locker room, the message is steady. Josh Allen keeps saying all the right things about trust and chemistry, and that matters more than people think. The quarterback sets the tone. If he starts doubting the group, that doubt spreads. But he's keeping it together, focusing on what they can control. You can tell he believes in the guys around him, even if everyone outside the team keeps questioning whether that belief is enough. It's also clear the Bills are trying to evolve their identity a bit. This isn't just the high-flying, pass-heavy offense we've seen in the past. There's a growing emphasis on physicality, on running the football, on controlling the clock. You saw it with how many touches James Cook has been getting lately. It's not flashy, but it's winning football. It's that cold-weather, playoff-style mentality that fits Buffalo's DNA. Still, balance is tricky. You can't run your way past Patrick Mahomes or Joe Burrow in January. At some point, you need that receiver who can change a game with one play. That's the missing element people keep talking about. Keon Coleman might become that guy eventually, but right now, he's still finding his footing. He's got the size, the talent, the potential, but it's a process. The coaches are being patient with him, letting him learn what it really means to be a complete NFL receiver. That means more than just catching the ball. It's understanding the playbook, running precise routes, blocking in the run game, and doing the little things that don't show up in the stat sheet. The challenge is that Buffalo doesn't have the luxury of waiting too long. They're in win-now mode, and patience isn't exactly what the fan base is known for. Injuries have added another layer of complexity. Every week, it feels like there's a new name popping up on the injury report. A.J. Epenese's concussion, Cook's ankle, even minor issues with guys like Gabe Davis. They all add up. It's part of the game, sure, but this team has already had its share of bad injury luck. The good news is that the depth pieces have stepped up. Guys like Ty Johnson have shown they can handle bigger roles when needed, and the coaching staff deserves credit for adjusting on the fly. The upcoming game against Miami has that weird mix of pressure and opportunity. The Dolphins are a team in chaos, but they're also dangerous because of it. Players on that roster are fighting for their futures, which makes them unpredictable. Buffalo can't afford to take them lightly, and everyone in the locker room knows it. Josh Allen even said earlier this week that the offense needs to bring the same kind of nasty mindset that the defense has been playing with. That's the challenge, matching that intensity on both sides of the ball. And maybe that's where the Bills can actually find their edge. Because while everyone outside the organization keeps obsessing over what they don't have, inside that building they're focused on what they do have. A quarterback who refuses to quit, a defense that's been through battles, and a culture built on resilience. They've been counted out before and found ways to respond. That's the Buffalo way. Before we dive back in, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Your support helps us keep delivering the latest Buffalo Bills updates straight to your screen. And hey, don't hold back. Let us know your thoughts on today's news down in the comments. In what is quickly becoming the most talked about moment of the NFL season, Kansas City Chiefs coach Andy Reid did not hold back after Sunday's nail-biting clash with the Buffalo Bills. Speaking to reporters post-game, Reid's words were sharp, pointed, and sure to ignite debates across sports bars and social media feeds nationwide. "I feel like the game was stolen from us," Reid said, his tone dripping with frustration and disbelief. While the Chiefs have faced controversy before, this statement seems to signal a new level of intensity and rivalry in the AFC. The comments almost immediately sent shockwaves through the Bills' locker room. Sources close to the team report that Buffalo players were fired up by the accusation, viewing it as a direct challenge to their integrity on the field. "We played hard. We earned that win," a Bills insider reportedly said. It's one thing to be upset with a call, but saying the game was stolen? That's disrespectful. The back and forth has fueled a social media frenzy, with fans from both sides weighing in and dissecting every referee decision, replay angle, and borderline foul from the matchup. Rumors are already swirling that this incident could have longer-term repercussions. Analysts suggest that REID's remarks might not just be a post-game venting, but a strategic move to put pressure on officiating bodies ahead of potential playoff showdowns. Meanwhile, Bills supporters are taking the comments as motivation, eager to prove that last Sunday's performance wasn't just a fluke or a gift from the referees. The tension between the two squads seems to be escalating, with insiders hinting at an already heated atmosphere ahead of their next encounter. With both teams sitting near the top of the AFC standings, fans are bracing for what promises to be one of the most electric rematches in recent memory. Every throw, every tackle, every controversial call will be under the microscope. In the meantime, Andy Reid's blunt assertion has ensured that the Chiefs-Bills rivalry is no longer just about the scoreboard. It's about pride, reputation, and a simmering feud that could define the season. Whether this drama dies down or explodes into full-blown gridiron warfare, one thing is certain. Everyone in the NFL is watching, and nobody wants to blink first. That's a wrap for now. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay on top of all things Buffalo Bills, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. We'd love to hear what you think in the comments. See you in the next update.